really sorry we're running behind. I don't know what is up with Facebook. We hit the live button about 7 minutes before, and Facebook just kept stopping the live, and then we'd restart it, and it would stop the live, and then we'd restart it. So I don't know what's going on. It's Facebook doing its thing, you know, when you need it to work, it won't. So Murphy's Law is in effect here. I just want to say on that note, if we get disconnected at all and Facebook kicks me off, just know it's not intentional. It's something beyond my control, and you should be able to see my face there on that camera. It's something beyond my control, and just know that I will hop back onto the group in the main feed live if we're cut off before the end. So just know that is the solution if that happens, and let's hope that the tech troubles are behind us now. Okay, so hey babe,
yeah,
I just need you to be monitoring the comments, because with what the hack I had to do to work around this, I can't see them when I'm on camera, so I just need to make sure that people are able to hear and see me, and it's not cutting the feed off or anything like that. Gotcha. Because Facebook is being really unpredictable today. Okay. Okay, that looks fine. Just be monitoring it, please, and let me know if you see anything wrong. Okay, so my husband, he is my tech guy behind the screen over here, and he is monitoring to make sure that we don't get cut off. But like I said, if we do, we will get back on in the main group as soon as Facebook lets us. Okay, so let's actually start the live the way it was intended to be started, which was not this. So welcome, everyone. I'm Abby from Abbi Kirsten Collections. You probably all know that by now, but for those of you who just found me through this event, I just wanted to give you a formal hello. I am so glad that you guys are here. I really hope you guys are enjoying all of the festivities that we've been doing here in the group with the giveaways and everything. I've seen so many of you already making projects for those of you who have purchased the All Access Pass, and they're turning out beautiful. So I really hope you're enjoying this event. It has been a great experience for me and my team, and it's something that seeing such a great response, we really want to do this year after year and to continue to build this community. So I'm really excited to get this event to you guys next week. So before we get in, I just want to do a couple of things before we get into Design Space. I just want to do a couple of things. First, I want to introduce my special guest today, which is, I'm going to have to turn my camera here because we're having technical difficulties today. Okay, this is my mama, Susan, and she is joining me today for a couple of different reasons. First, because I've never really had a chance to introduce her to my community. And I wanted to just introduce her beautiful face to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good to meet you virtually.
Virtually, yeah, it's the way of things now. And another reason I wanted to have my mom on today is because she has never worked in Design Space. And I know that there are lots and lots of you who have never worked in Design Space, or you've tried and you feel overwhelmed and intimidated, and you're like, I have no idea how to use this, and then you just want to give up and you can't craft with your Cricut, and that's the opposite of why we bought a Cricut, right? So my mom is next to me here today just to sort of be my pacer as I go through these things, because she's never used this before. So she's going to be my pacer, and she's going to be like, hey, slow down, or hey, repeat that again. And then, of course, we're going to be looking at your comments as well and answering specific questions in the comments as well. We're not going to forget about you guys. But she's basically going to be my pacer here as she's doing it next to me on her computer. So I thought that would be kind of a different approach. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. Mike is monitoring comments, so is there any important info there I need to be aware of, Ben?
We got people from all over the world.
Oh, yay! So exciting. I've seen so many of you guys in the group. So I've seen Canada and I think the Philippines, and
We have Corsica today.
wow. Of course. How do you say it?
Corsica.
Corsica. Wow.
It's an island in the Mediterranean.
Wow, that's amazing. A worldwide reach? Oh my gosh, you guys, that's...
Most famous for Napoleon's prison.
Oh.
I knew I'd
He
heard
said
that
most
before.
famous for Napoleon's prison. Well, that's incredible. I'm so glad that we have so many international people. The crafting community is something that we can all come together on, no matter where we're from, what walks of life, age, it doesn't matter. It's something we can all come together on, and I love that about the crafting community. All right, so first, I want to give 2 shout outs to our sponsors for the Cricut Craftfest. We have 2 sponsors this year. We have Creative Fabrica and we also have Crafty Corner. And you guys have probably seen me post about them in the group a couple of times. But I'm happy to announce that Creative Fabrica is joining us as a sponsor for the Cricut Craftfest. If you haven't heard of Creative Fabrica before, they are the largest digital platform for crafters. They have crafting classes, design files, fonts. They have over 4 million designs on their site. It's crazy. So I am a partner with them and they are sponsoring the Cricut Craftfest with me. And right now they are offering their first month for access to all of their designs for $1. So we were able to partner up with them on that, and they are giving that to Craftfest attendees for $1 for the first month. So if you want to get your hands on a bunch of designs to play around with as you're practicing these different techniques and workshops next week in the Craftfest, it would be a great opportunity. So make sure you check that out. And my assistant Susan, who has also been working behind the scenes, she's going to be dropping some links into the comments here as we go. And you can also find information on our homepage. And then we also have Crafty Corner, which is a family-owned business. They sell name brand Cricut items on their website. They have great customer service and they're very competitive on their name brand Cricut pricing as well. Plus they offer free shipping on anything over $99. So make sure you check out those 2 sponsors, guys. We're really honored to be working with them. All right, so next up, we all know the Cricut Craftfest is going to be happening starting on Monday the 21st. I just want to make sure that everyone is totally clear on how things are going to work. So I'm just going to go over where you can find the schedule real quick because I don't want anyone to be lost or be unaware of how to find what they're looking for. So I'm just going to hop over to the website here real quick. Let's hope that Facebook keeps cooperating with us. So everything for the Craftfest this coming week is going to be happening on CricutCraftfest.com. And all of you should still be on our email list, and you'll get an email every single morning that is going to give you exact links to those workshops. But do you have a question, babe?
Someone's asking for the shout out of the sponsors again.
Oh, the sponsors, yes. CreativeFabrica.com is one of our sponsors, and they're doing a great deal right now where you can get their entire platform for $1 for the first month. And then CraftEcorner.com. It's actually craft-e, the letter, corner.com, and they're a really great resource for Cricut materials. And those comments, or those, links should be going into the comments there. Okay. So I just want to make sure you guys know that on CricutCraftfest.com, this is where the event is actually going to be happening. If you have purchased the All Access Pass already, of course that is on a different platform that you received login information to. And if anyone's had any issues with that, please reach out to us because we want to make sure you get your access for that as well. But for the actual event, it will be here on this site. And at any time, if you need to know the schedule of what's coming up, you can click over to the schedule that's in the top menu there. Everything here is going to be in Eastern Standard Time, Monday morning being our first day, and then it will go for 24 hours until 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the next day. And that is when those workshops will go exclusive to the All Access Pass. But if you're wanting to know, who's coming up that day, what are they teaching, come to the schedule page and plan that out. I know we have several of you who would love to have the All Access Pass and it's just not in the budget for you right now. And I totally understand that. And there's a lot to choose from here. So my advice to you guys is choose what you are most interested in. Don't try and watch all these workshops at once because you're going to retain none of that information. Pick what you want to learn right now. So maybe pick 1 or 2 workshops per day. If you say, hey, I really want to know how to make cards, take Catherine's workshop. Or I really want to do something with cup wraps, then take this workshop. So really concentrate on what you want to do if you're unable to afford that All Access Pass so you don't get overwhelmed. Yeah, Facebook is having a problem today. We've tried on 3 different devices now, and it keeps pausing. So I'm not sure what is up with Facebook, but just know we are going to just try and roll with the punches and do the best we can here, okay? We're certainly not attempting to make this difficult on anybody. Alrighty, so let's go over into Design Space before Facebook decides to quit on us again. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Design Space here. Is it still present?
Yeah, it's slow.
Well, it's going to lag a little bit, but as long as it's moving and they're not frozen, that's all I care about. All right, guys. You're still good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys.
You see my wonderful background now. Okay.
We are in Design Space here. Again, I apologize for all of the confusion and the restarting of the videos. Facebook is having some sort of severe issue right now. We tried on 3 different devices and got the same result. So let's hope and let's say prayers that we can make it through the rest of this without any more hiccups. So I'm just going to get right into the Design Space here because this is the real important part of why we're on this live, and hopefully we can make it all the way through without any issues. Okay, so this is the home screen of Design Space, all right? And if you've never downloaded Design Space before, you will need to go to design.cricut.com, and then you will be able to be prompted to follow the download instructions to download this to your computer. You will need to set up a profile, so an email and a password. And then once you have done that, you'll get a screen that will look something like this. And this screen changes all the time, guys, so if you go back later on, it's going to have different images and stuff like that. If you are scrolling down here under My Projects, you are going to see things that are populated by your particular account. So these are projects and things that I've uploaded and played with, and it's populating here. If you've never ever worked in here before, then this will be blank. There's not going to be anything there. So if you watched our first live that got cut off, my mom is here with me, and she is working alongside me kind of as a pacer, and she doesn't have anything in her account because she's never worked in it before. So all this would be...
I do. I created one called Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. She was playing with it the other night.
That's
she created one called Mother's.
One title, nothing else.
Nothing in it, nothing going on. She did it, though. She managed to save a project. Way to go, Mom. All right, so let's go ahead and open up a canvas here. And to open up a canvas, you're going to want to click on New Project. That's this option right here. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll get a result that looks something like this. Now, if you've ever changed settings, like the background settings where the grid might look different, that could be a variation. But otherwise, everything's basically going to be in the same spot. What I first want to talk about here in Design Space is that there is a lot to learn. So there's all of these tabs over here on the left, and there's a bunch of different operations along the top. And then we got the Layers panel, which allows us to edit things and duplicate things and delete things and make all sorts of fancy changes. While I would love to sit here and give you a crash course in every single tool that there is, that would be virtually impossible because we'd probably be here for 2 days. So I am instead going to focus today on what is going to serve you best for the Craftfest next week. Are we still doing okay? Okay. Any major questions so far? Pausing for questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to upload an image to Design Space because that's really important to know when you're downloading things for the Craftfest particularly, but it's also a skill that's going to serve you pretty much forever because it's really great to have the freedom to bring your own designs in. Whether you purchase them from somebody, like one of our speakers, they have lots and lots of craft files that they sell and you can get. They have lots of freebies that you can get, and knowing how to upload your own files is going to serve you really well. Any questions, Ben?
Right here.
Okay. All right, guys, so I'm just going to go full steam ahead on this. I'll pause every few minutes to look for questions, and then we'll continue on from there. So the first thing you want to do for uploading is locate the upload button, which is on the bottom left-hand side. Let's go ahead and click on the upload button. And my mom is following along my instructions here next to me, so you might hear her talk and ask questions along the way, and then we'll pause and look at your questions as well. So here we have my screen, and we have recent uploads down here, the things. So I do have recent uploads visible there as well. In order to bring something in, we'll want to click on the Upload Image button. and then you're going to need to browse your computer to wherever you have stored the file. Now, because we just had technical difficulties, I am working on my husband's computer, and I do not have my image bank. So what we're going to actually do, and this probably is a good thing, is I'm going to actually head over to the Craftfest website, and I'm going to download one of the files from the Google Drive folders that we're going to be sharing and actually bring it in that way so that you can see sort of a full process. So I'm going to just go over, because I don't have any of my files on here, so I'm actually going to access them via the website. Alrighty. Now, none of this is relevant to you. It's just capturing my screen right now, so just ignore what I'm doing. This is just the back end of our website when we set everything up. It's how I'm accessing my page here. And we're going to preview one of the workshop pages that's coming next week. This is mine. I'll just use my example here because I don't want to give away any of our hard work in speakers workshops. And down here we have the download button. You'll see this on all of our speaker pages come next week, and I'm basically going to walk you through this process so that you know what to do when those workshops go live. So I'm going to click on this button, and it's going to open up in Google Drive. So you're going to see a couple options here. First, you're going to see a zip option, and then you're going to see individual files. So if you're someone who is frustrated by zips and you don't want to worry about unzipping files, then feel free to just download each of these SVGs individually, or the individual files in general. So don't worry about messing with zips if you don't want to. But for example's sake, let's click on the zip, just for those of you who want to know more, because I know we get a lot of questions about that. I'm going to click on, again, I'm on a different computer, guys, so it's slowing me down a little. And I'm going to click the download arrow up at the top corner in Design Space. And Mom, I know you don't have these files on your computer, so I should have probably sent you a file beforehand. But you can still upload like an image-based file if you want, so you can still follow along with that. We're good. All right, so I just downloaded that zip using that download button up at the top. And it's dropped the download here in my downloads bar. And I'm going to open that file location, and I am on a Mac that I'm usually not used to working with, so I am kind of figuring that out. All right, so with Macs, you double click to open the zip. So Macs, it's really easy because you just have to double click and you're good to go. If you are on a PC, if you're unzipping something, you're going to need to right click with your mouse and then click extract all. So that's the difference between Mac and PC. So let me make sure I've got this right here. It should be, yeah. All right, so here we see this little file icon. It's really small. Let me make this full screen. That didn't help all that much. But this file, the second one down, shows what looks like a little zip on it. So that is the file zipped. You need it to be unzipped in order to bring it into Design Space. This blue folder is showing that it is currently unzipped. So I'm going to click into that. And then you'll see SVG files. If you're dealing with other people's files, they may also include additional formats like PNG images or even DXF files. But just know if you're wanting a layered design where you actually cut out individual layers and colors, SVG is what you're going to want to look for. So that is what you need to be searching for first. Now, the exception to this rule is some of our speakers for next week have print then cut only projects. So they may only have PNG images available for that project, and that is specific to their project. And they will explain that in detail with Design Space setup for them. Okay, so that is how you would download and unzip a file, and now we have access to these SVGs to upload. So let's go ahead and just pick one of these here. We're going to browse. Just kidding. We're going to browse. Everything with Macs and PCs is backwards, so when you're doing it, it's like trying to learn how to like walk a different way. Anyways, here is our...
So I have a PC.
Okay, so yes. So my mom has a PC, and she's working next to me here.
Yeah.
And so she is probably having less trouble than I am at the moment because I'm still trying to learn how to work with Macs the same way I know how to work with PCs. Here is our file that we just downloaded. Remember, we cannot upload the zip file. So we do not want to click on that because it will tell us it's invalid. We want to click into the unzipped folder here. So usually like a double click, or you can just click and hit open. And then let's just choose one of these files. I'm just going to choose this one and click on open. And here is our file that has been brought in. So it's going to give you a preview here. And if you need to replace the image for any reason, you can just hit that replace button. It'll take you back to that browse, and you'll be able to choose a different file on your computer. And you'll want to click the upload button at the bottom of the corner here. So I'm going to pause for a minute here, and I'm just going to check for questions at this point, and then we will move on to the next step, because I don't want to be ignoring any questions. So for you, Mom, you're obviously uploading an image file here. So what questions do you have first about bringing things in?
Well, being on a PC, before I click the upload, it's giving me two options to select my upload type.
Mm-hmm.
One option says cut image, the other says print then cut.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a preference?
Yes. So what you did is you uploaded a print and cut image. You uploaded a PNG format.
Okay.
So a minute ago when I was saying if you're working with layered designs, you want to be able to choose an SVG file. That is why it is presenting you with that option. So you are basically, what you want to do is the file you're using is going to be print and cut only. So you would select the print and cut image when it presents you with a select upload type. You would want to select the print and cut image so that you could actually print that out in ink, and then your Cricut would cut the silhouette around it.
Okay.
Now, if I'm working with an SVG like we are on my screen here, you're not going to be presented with that option because it's already in layers. It's not asking you to change it to the shape of whatever the image is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at questions that we have so far at this point. What do you have for me, honey? We're reading questions, guys. Just one moment.
So one person says they missed how they where'd you get the file from, and how did you get it loaded?
Okay, so we just went over that from the Craftfest website, where we downloaded it by clicking on the Google Drive link. And if you want to just rewind the video at the end, you can go back and watch all of that step by step. But basically all we did there is we were on this website, which you will not have access to until next week. There'll be a download button. You'll open it, and it will drop you into Google Drive, and you will download the files here in Google Drive. And then once you've downloaded it, that's when you'll be able to pull the file into Design Space, which is where we stopped just a second ago.
And then there's another question. Is an SVG a cut file and a PNG a print and cut file?
Yes, that is correct. An SVG file is a cut file, as far as it's typically going to cut out in paper, in vinyl. You could do wood, infusible ink, iron-on. That is the format that you will use with those types of material. If you're pulling in a PNG or JPEG image, then you're going to typically only put that onto paper or like sticker paper, and it's actually going to be printed with ink from your printer, and then it will get cut out in a silhouette from your machine. So it's basically like if you're printing something off from your printer before Cricut's ever existed, and you would take a pair of scissors and you would cut that out around the design that you cut out or print out on your printer. That's basically what it's doing. But your Cricut is replacing the scissor part. So printing is very much the same with Cricut as it is with anything else. It's just your Cricut is replacing the part where you don't have to do the cutting. Cricut is doing the cutting around the image. So I hope that makes sense.
Question.
Yes.
So is it correct that all these file types that you're mentioning, can you do layers, manipulate the layers with all of those, or only with certain kinds?
SVGs are hey babe, before I answer that question, can you turn the camera preview on for this, for your computer, so I can actually see what we're doing? And are we still sharing fine? Because I don't see that button anymore.
Yeah, you're still sharing.
Okay. Turn the camera on so that I can actually show my face and they're not just staring at the same screen. Whatever that preview was you did the other day. Okay. Hi. So I just thought it would be nice for you to see my face when I'm talking. So, Mom, you asked me.
Yeah, all these different types. Can are there layers for all of those where you can work with those layers and separate them out, or just for certain types?
Okay, so for that's a very common question, by the way. I know a lot of people get confused with layers versus non-layers. So SVG file, if you're wanting to work in layers, let's say we're wanting to cut out 3 different layers in paper and we want to have 3 different colors paper and we want to layer them together. SVG is what you want to work with because those are typically going to come in layers. Now, you can turn an SVG into a print and cut with a special tool in Design Space, but if you upload a image, like a PNG image, to Design Space, you cannot turn the PNG image into a layered file in Design Space. That has to be done in a third-party software outside of Design Space. It doesn't have that capabilities in there. So you basically want to already have the format that you need to work with ready to be uploaded into Design Space. If you're planning to do print and cut, then go ahead and upload the PNG and the JPEG. That's no problem. If you know you're wanting to work with layers, you need to make sure you're uploading that layered SVG format in order to get that effect. So what questions do we have now, babe? Okay. Hi. So I just thought it would be nice for you to see my face when I'm talking. So, Mom, you asked me.
Yeah, all these different type can some, are there layers for all of those where you can work with those layers and separate them out, or just for certain types?
Okay, so for, that's a very common question, by the way. I know a lot of people get confused with layers versus non-layers. So SVG file, if you're wanting to work in layers, let's say we're wanting to cut out 3 different layers in paper and we want to have 3 different colors paper and we want to layer them together. SVG is what you want to work with because those are typically going to come in layers. Now, you can turn an SVG into a print and cut with a special tool in Design Space, but if you upload a image, like a PNG image, to Design Space, you cannot turn the PNG image into a layered file in Design Space. That has to be done in a third-party software outside of Design Space. It doesn't have that capabilities in there. So you basically want to already have the format that you need to work with ready to be uploaded into Design Space. If you're planning to do print and cut, then go ahead and upload the PNG and the JPEG. That's no problem. If you know you're wanting to work with layers, you need to make sure you're uploading that layered SVG format in order to get that effect. So what questions do we have now, babe?
Well, you just answered some of them.
Okay, good.
So if you convert an SVG to a PNG, will it degrade the quality at all? Have you found that to be so?
No, I have not. That all depends on the process that you're going through. So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And what that means is you can basically scale the file really large or really small without loss of resolution. Okay. So it's not like a traditional image to where if you blow up the image really, really big and it would get pixelated and it would get blurry. SVGs don't do that. Okay. So that's what makes SVG so valuable to work with in design programs like Design Space, because we're able to scale them, change them, and it's not going to affect the integrity of the file. Okay. So does that answer your question, Mom?
Yeah, that's good too.
Okay. See, she's my pacer here today. Yeah. All right. So, do you have any questions?
Somebody did ask if you can engrave on wood with an Explorer 3.
Engrave on wood with an
cut wood, I'm sorry.
Cut wood on an Explorer 3. You know, I have never personally tried that, but there are people out there who have cut wood with the Explorer machines. I know lots of our speakers have tutorials with that. I have typically only cut wood with the makers because they come with the knife blade, which is specific to the maker machine. However, if you get the right kind of wood and you're using, I think it's the deep point blade, I may be incorrect on that, and one of the speakers can correct me if I'm wrong, there are cases where you can cut wood on the Explorer. And I think there are some people like Corey and Angie that are speakers that have done things on this and would be able to answer that question for you because they have had more specific experience with actually doing step-by-step tutorials on that. So make sure you maybe ask that in the group if they're not on this live right now answering that for you. Ask that in the group, and I know that our other speakers who've done those exact types of tests will be able to give you more insight on that. In theory, yes, I believe with a deep point blade and the right kind of wood, you can do some basic cuts. In general, I would recommend the maker for that because of the knife blade though. All right, so let's go back to Design Space and continue now with the upload process. So I wanted to pause there just for a minute to answer some questions, and now we're going to continue on with the process here. And you can rewatch this video even though we had some technical difficulties, so don't worry. All right, so here we are where we brought our image in here, and it's now present on our screen, and it needs to now be uploaded to our actual account. So in order to do that, there is an upload button at the bottom. Hey, Mom, you already got ahead of me there. She's over here all done. She's like waiting. She's like, no, I passed that. Tell me what to do now. I'm already there. So there is an upload button down here at the bottom of the screen. And if you do want to give your file a particular name, you can do that up here at the top. I generally tend to just leave them as they are, but that's really your preference. So I'm going to click the upload button.
So I'm on a PC and I don't see that image name thing. Is there?
You are already past that point, though.
Oh, okay.
When you uploaded it, there was that option. It just, you kind of clicked forward, and yeah, you missed it. But it is there. So even if you upload a PNG image, that option is there as well.
Okay, gotcha.
No worries. All right, so now we're back where we started. This is the screen we started on when we first clicked on our upload button. But now we see under recent uploads that there is an uploaded image. Our uploaded image is now present. So what we need to do is click on that so it is highlighted in green. And then you'll want to come over here to Add Canvas at the bottom right-hand corner and click on Add to Canvas. Give your computer and Design Space a moment to load it up. And there we go. Yep, and you got yours in, Mom, there. You're using a print and cut project, so yep, you got that correct. All right, so here is our file that we successfully downloaded from, in my example, Google Drive, brought it into Design Space, and now here it is ready to be used. So I'm going to pause again here. Is there anyone who has any questions at this point in time of things that I have not covered or clarified? Husband's checking real quick.
Hold on a second. I'm answering a question.
Oh, he's answering and checking.
I hate your computer.
I'm sorry. I'll throw it out after today, I promise. I promise. All right.
So my image came in, I'm just going with the size. It looks like it's,
Rather large.
yeah, rather large. Is that just because of the type file?
Yeah, so that probably was a very high resolution PNG image, and so it dropped it in at a very large size. Design Space does have some issues with how things get sized in it sometimes, and it'll change what it is even if you save it a certain way in a program. But you can easily scale it down, and we're going to go over that in just a second. Any questions?
There are some people that are a little confused with Mac and Windows. Just sort of remind, like, the process is still the same.
Yes, the process is completely the same with the upload. There's no difference whatsoever with Mac and Windows. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that. There is no difference in this process here. The only thing that is different is how you'll extract the files, which is if you're on a Mac, you double click. If you're extracting zip files, you will double click. If you're on a PC, you'll right click and you'll hit extract all. That's the only difference. Everything you're seeing on my screen here with Design Space, the upload buttons, it is all exactly the same on a PC as it is on a Mac. So you don't have to worry about that. The only time that any of this is going to look a little bit different is if you're on a mobile device. It's going to have everything the same as far as like the uploadability. It's just going to be located in a different spot, usually along the bottom. So there's no difference in what you're seeing on my screen here. So don't get caught up on the fact that I had to switch computers. It's all going to be the same. Any other questions, Ben?
How will you tell in Design Space between an SVG and a PNG file?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so I'm going to upload a PNG image here just to give you like a stark contrast right here on my screen, because my mom has one next to me, but obviously you guys can't see her screen, so that's not really helpful. All right, so let's see. I'm on a different computer, so I don't have my, well, I need an image file. This is throwing me because I'm not on my computer and I don't have my image files.
So,
oh, actually, I think I got it. Actually, no, I don't got it.
scroll down to the bottom.
You
Lucky for us, there's nothing bad. Click on that.
The photos?
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's an image for you.
Okay, well, that's not ideal, but that will work, I guess. All right, so.
I see a puppy.
Yes. You'll get a shot into our family life here. All right, we are improvising, people.
This is what live does.
Yeah, this is what live does to you. All right, so great question on how you can tell the difference between a cut file and a print and cut file. It's very confusing for beginners. I totally understand. So what we're seeing on my screen here is in fact a cut file, and the first way you can recognize that that is a cut file is over here in the layers panel. So take a look to the right-hand side of Design Space, and again, this will be the same no matter if you're on a Mac or a PC, and look under the layers panel here where it says Basic Cut all the way down, Basic Cut, Basic Cut, Basic Cut. So if we ungroup these, I'm just going to click the Ungroup button at the top. We can grab each one of these separately, and we can see not only in the layers panel that it's a basic cut, which is implying that it's actually going to cut, not print, and then we can also see in the operation right here that it is also basic cut. If this was a print and cut, and I will show you a contrast on that in just a second, it would be saying in the operation, it would be saying a print and cut standard. And you would also see that reflected over here in the layers panel. So let's actually bring in an image-based file just to show that difference in the layers panel so we know how to tell the difference between the two. So I'm going to click on Upload again. Same process would apply even if you're uploading a PNG image. So the Upload button is still the same place you would go. I'm going to click on Upload Image, and we're going to browse the computer. And I'm browsing, babe, so which, would I go under Desktop for this?
What are you
Or
trying to-
Photos? I'd go under Photos probably.
Are you trying to find a file?
I'm just trying to find a photo. These are all the stuff for the craft. And let's just take one of my kids. I think this is Ella, or maybe Wyatt, I can't see. All right, I'm just uploading a PNG image here. This is an actual photo, but of course this would apply to lots of different PNG-based designs. They don't have to be square photos. They can be different shapes. So we just brought that in here. Here is our preview of the image. And then here's where things are a little different in the upload process at this point if you're working with a PNG or a JPEG image. It's going to ask you to select the image type. And all that means is, do you want this to be simple, as in it's only going to capture so much of the detail in the photo, or do you want it to be moderately complex or complex? I pretty much always default to complex because no one wants to lose details in their photo.
And if you, because I got that when I uploaded
Yeah.
my photo
Yeah.
here, when you click on each of those, it'll kind of show you the quality of what you're going to get too. So
Yes, yeah. Yeah, if you click on each one of these, it will actually kind of reduce and give you kind of a preview. See how I just took away all of her details? Let me show you the contrast here. See the details that it's taking away when I click on that? And now my computer's spinning. There you go. See how much details that's losing? I always select complex. It's pretty much just a reflex with me. And I've honestly, after 10 years of using Cricut, I have never found a time that I really want to use simple. I'm sure there are exceptions, and there are probably tips and tricks of why you would want to do that, but honestly, I have never found a reason for that. So complex is what you'll want to go with. And then at the bottom right-hand corner, again, is a continue button. So just click on continue. And then this is a whole other area of Design Space where if you're working with PNG images, you will not get this if you're uploading an SVG. So just know that. This is only if you're uploading a PNG or JPEG format here in Design Space. This is a whole other editing ability in order to get rid of backgrounds and erase parts of the image. Now I'm not going to get too much into this today because it would take a lot more time, and it's really not going to be relevant to the Craftfest next week because any files that our speakers are providing, they're prepped and ready to go. You're not going to have to do editing work. But for those of you who want to learn this more, you can play around with these tools and use the select tool to manually select parts of the background, and it will remove it. This is a very complicated photo with contrast and shadow, so it's not going to be a great example for that. And Design Space here has a relatively new automatic background remover. However, I've not really used that much at this point, again, because all the files you'll be using next week, they're already ready to go. So you're not going to have to worry about doing edits. But this is something you can play around with when working with PNG and JPEG images in the future. So let me undo that little chunk I just did. There we go. All right, so moving past this screen, all you need to do is hit apply and continue. It's gonna say apply and continue even if you did nothing to the image. So just click apply and continue. And then here's where it's going to ask you, and Mom, this is what you got a minute ago when it asked you, do you want a cut image or a PNG, or a, print and cut image. So at this point, you of course are gonna want to select the print and cut image because this is a rectangle image, and if we select cut, it's just gonna cut a square. There's no point really to that. So we obviously want to select the print and cut because we want to be able to either put this into something or cut it out with our Cricut machine on something else. And then Mom, you asked a minute ago where to give your file a name when you did that, and this is the page where you would do that here. So see at the top there it says image name.
Yeah.
So this is where you could type in a name. Just give my daughter's name Ella there. So once you've highlighted the print and cut image, then you can click on upload at the bottom corner. And your computer might take a moment. Sometimes it's design space that needs a moment. This is a rather large image too, I will say. I think that's probably part of why it was taking a minute. All right, so there we go. Now we have uploaded a print and cut PNG image. It's under recent uploads again, just like those rosettes were. And I'm gonna click on that. When it's highlighted in green, we can click add to canvas at the bottom right-hand corner. And as you can see here, very, very large indeed. If you need to zoom out, there's a zoom out at the bottom left corner of Design Space. Okay, and that gives you a little bit more. But obviously this is a huge image, so that's why Design Space was lagging for a second. So I'm gonna shrink this way down there.
Okay, you've lost me.
Okay, I've lost my mother, so I know if I've lost my mother, someone else has got also lost.
Someone
All right.
else. Okay,
All right, Mom. So what
again,
questions?
I'm on a PC,
Uh-huh.
and because I'd already uploaded it, I'm on my canvas
Uh-huh.
with it open. I see in my top bar it says Untitled.
Yeah, that's because we haven't saved our project yet, which I'm going to show you after we get through this first question you have. So I'm guessing you want to know how to scale that image down.
Well, I'm trying to compare with your Mac, and
Well, there's no difference in this part with a Mac.
okay. So am I good where I'm at? I have my.
Do you want that
canvas up?
image to be smaller though, probably?
Yes.
Okay. So you would want to click on the zoom at the bottom left-hand corner to zoom out. Bottom left-hand corner. It's a little hard to see, I won't lie. So
Yeah.
bear that in
This guy
mind.
here?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
So hit the zoom out right there. There you go.
Yay.
Yay. All right, so you've zoomed out. Now select the image. It's actually, you need to zoom out one more time. Click it one more time. There you go.
Okay.
Now that we've zoomed out, if you select the item on your screen, you'll see that there's these little items that appear. There's an X, there's a rotation handle, a lock icon, and a double arrow. The double arrow at the bottom right corner, if you click on that and drag, you can scale it smaller or larger. So if you're wanting to decrease in size, which in your case you would, then you would just hold and drag that down. If you're wanting to be very specific with the sizing, you can always type in the sizing at the top edit bar here. See at the very top where it says size.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes it specific.
Yep, specific.
So let's say you do a width, does it do in proportion with the height then? It kind of takes care
Yes,
of it? if
it
that's
will
what you
if you keep the lock icon on.
want. Okay.
So we see on the image we have selected here at the bottom left there is a lock icon. As long as that is locked, it will keep the proportions exactly the same. If you unlock it though, it will stretch the image and it will change it exactly as you're showing it. It won't auto fix it to be that proportion. So if I wanted this to be like 5 inches wide, I could type up there 5, hit enter, and then that adjusts that as well. So 2 ways to scale in Design Space there. So to answer that question in a kind of a long-winded way, let's take a look now at this rosette here. and this image-based item here. If we have the image-based item selected, in the layers panel, it's showing print then cut. That means we will literally print this out through Design Space with ink from our printer, and then we will load it onto a mat, and Design Space would cut around the silhouette of this image. You can also notice in operation over here that it says print and cut. So the operation is basically where you tell Design Space what you want it to do. Now, some people will say, oh, I want to change it to basic because I want to cut it out in layers. That's not something that Design Space is able to do. You would have to go through a conversion process first before bringing it into Design Space. So just to show you what that would mean, if I click on basic here, it's going to change it to just a rectangle because we haven't gone through a conversion process to properly set that PNG file into a layered file, and Design Space is not equipped to do that. So we would want to leave this as a print and cut. That's funny. Going back doesn't work. All right, so we'll use the undo button, which is at the top here. It's always helpful to know how to undo something. Very top left-hand side, there's little arrows that look like they're going each direction, and that's an undo and redo button. So for those of you who want to know how to undo something and you're playing around, that's a helpful thing to know. All right, so I'm going to pause for some questions at this point in time. What questions do we have, honey?
Let's see. Someone doesn't know how to print from the Cricut to the printer. So maybe explain how to print from Design Space to your printer so then it lets
Okay.
into you.
All right, so let's first, before I answer that question, let's show you guys how to save a file before we go to the cut screen, because it's really important to always save your work before you move on to cutting something. Because if your power goes out or your Wi-Fi goes down or Design Space has a moment or your Cricut just shuts off, then you've lost your work. And even though Design Space now has a feature that will auto-save things, it's not something that you want to rely on, so it's good practice to always save your projects. So let's say I want to save this because we're going to go to the cut screen in just a minute, which is that make it button, and we're going to go through the process of cutting a project out. Let's first save it by going up to the very top where it says save. It's top to your right a little bit. You see that there, Mom?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So you'll just click on that button, and it will present you with a place to put the title. So I'm just going to call this test, just for an example's sake. Now, if you want to create a collection, you could, as far as if you want to keep all of your more print and cut projects in a folder, or all of your layered SVGs in a folder, or things that are meant for paper crafts or vinyl crafts, you could create collections. So that's completely optional. But if you do want to do that, you would just click on Create New Collection and give it a name, and then just check the box next to that. That's all you would need to do. So I've named my item here, and I'm going to click Save. And in most cases, it's just going to say Project Save. Now, because I am on a Mac, it is giving me an additional option here. Again, all of this is still applicable, exactly the same on a PC, but it is giving me an additional option here because with a Mac, you can store things in a cloud. So this is asking me, do you want it to be stored in the cloud and on this computer, or just only in the cloud? I'm just going to leave it as the default and just hit Apply. So just hit Apply. There's not really anything fancy you need to know there. Okay, so it showed us there, our project was successfully saved. We can see our title reflected, mine was Test, right here at the top. And you did yours, Light Through the Trees, yep. So we both successfully saved our project, and that's where you want to be before you go to the cut screen, because you don't want to end up losing your work. So it's very important to know how to save a project. Plus, you can come back to it any time and redo the project and not have to go through the setup process again.
So if we clicked on projects right now, would we see that?
Yes.
In our project?
Yes, that's a good question. I'll just show that real quick before we answer that other question. If we click on projects over here on the left-hand side towards the top, it's going to present you with a bunch of Cricut projects. That'll generally always be the default, will be all categories. But at the very top, towards the right, if you click on all categories, you'll see My Projects as that option there. So click on that. And my computer's being slower than yours. So mom's seeing her project there, and here are my projects that are appearing. I have a lot more projects, so it took a little longer to load. So if you need to pull up your projects, that's where you would find those for future reference. And then if we need to get back to the canvas at the very top left-hand side, the word that says canvas is actually clickable. Nope, not there. Just the word itself. Yep. The word itself, canvas, if you click on that, takes you right back to your canvas where you were. All right, so to answer that other question from one of our attendees, I'm going to click on the Make It button here first. I'm actually going to just get this off my screen. I'm going to click and drag over these items here that are cut files. We can see it says Basic Cut. I'm going to group them using the Group tool. And then I'm going to hide the whole group. And what hiding does with the little eyeball tool is it keeps it here in this project, but it will not cut it out when we go to the cut screen. It's there to be brought back, but it's not going to cut out because it's not on our canvas. So I just want to hide that so it's not creating a bunch of mats when I go to the next screen. So I'm going to click the Make It button at the top here.
Make It button, where's that?
Okay, let me go back.
Up.
Make It button right at the top.
Okay.
Top right-hand side. Yep. Make it. All right. So there is the preview of our print then cut. All right. And mom over here is getting a message saying project is incompatible. So why would our project be incompatible when we know that our machine does print then cut? There's usually one reason. It's too big. So with Design Space, you have to have a certain size. So let me show you. Do you see the little arrow? Let me pull this up. There we go. Do you see the little exclamation arrow in our layers panel over here to the right? That little tiny exclamation point right there? Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you hover over that and click it, it's going to say it's not supported by the Explorer. That doesn't mean your Explorer or your Maker can't print and cut. It means the image is too large. We need to reduce the size of this image. Unfortunately, right now, Cricut can only do so big on the print and cut. So we need to reduce that size down. Do you have a question, Ben?
No.
Good.
There was one question about doing a print and cut on with sublimation. Do you need to mirror?
Yes, if there's words involved, you would need to mirror with sublimation.
But not if it's just a picture.
As long as there's nothing in the picture that you want appearing a certain direction, then technically, no, you probably don't need to. All right, so we need to shrink this down. So I'm just going to click and drag that little double arrow to shrink it down.
That's what I did.
And that's what you did, Mom?
And then
now it works.
It.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you'll know it's right because that exclamation over here will disappear in the layers panel. Okay. And now we can click on that Make It button at the top. Here's our preview. And you're going to see this black registration box around it here. And that is basically Cricut's guide to know how to cut out this image correctly. Now in our example here, we're using a very basic square, but if you were doing something more complicated, like the silhouette of a butterfly, I actually have one here. Let me show you that real quick, because it's probably going to be more applicable. This one here is a print and cut. All right, so this butterfly image here is also print and cut. See it reflecting there in the layers panel? Now let's click on the Make It button. We have my daughter there still. On the second mat, we also have our print and cut butterfly. So this picture is just a square, but this is where print and cut comes more in handy if you're dealing with more complex shapes like a shape of a butterfly or something else. Your Cricut's going to cut around this butterfly, and you're not going to have to do that by hand like you would traditionally with scissors. So this black registration box here is telling Cricut, hey, I need to cut this according to what's on the screen. And it's basically just the software talking to the machine. So as long as you're printing through Design Space here with this black registration box around it, then your Cricut will know how to cut it accurately. So after we get to this screen, you'll want to click the Continue button that's at the bottom right-hand corner. Okay? And at this point, you're going to need to make sure your Cricut machine is powered on and you're within 10 feet of it, or you're plugged into it with the USB cable. You have a question? No?
Do you need to inload it?
No, I'm good. I'm good. My machine is not currently powered on. However, the question that we got about how do you send it to the printer, you would click on this Send to Printer button, and you would get this preview. And Design Space has been doing this to me the last few weeks, where it's been messing the preview up here in the preview print box, but I've never had it print off incorrectly. It's some sort of little issue they need to work out in their software. So if you see that, just know that I've never had it print off incorrectly. It's just the preview's messed up for some reason right now, and they'll probably fix it very soon. You'll want to make sure your printer is connected as well, so either by a USB cable or Wi-Fi, however your system works. And you'll want to select it from the drop down here. I generally tend to use my Canon. And I also recommend always leaving the bleed on, because what a bleed does is it ensures that when this is cut out by Cricut, it is going to be edge to edge color. There's not going to be a thin white border going around your design. So it's really important that you get that edge to edge color. I almost always leave the bleed on. The second option down here is the system dialog. So this is just allowing you to make more customizations to your printer. So if your printer needs to be told that it's printing cardstock, then you would want to tick this on. And when you go to hit print, you would need to select cardstock and then hit the print button. But that is the process right up until everything except actually printing out the sheet itself that you would go through to get this image printed out through Design Space. So I hope that answers your question, or at least gives you some more insight on what that process is going to look like.
Can you do landscape? You could switch that paper size if you want also.
So with Cricut, they're going to default basically to this 8.5 by 11 paper size in general, because Cricut will only do print and cut so big. When we ran into that issue about the image being too large, it's not going to be able to do like switch it in size and things like that. So Cricut is very much like set in its ways with print and cut, for lack of better expression, and you kind of just have to follow the rules of what they are giving you to work with. But just know, as long as it's sized correctly, then you'll be good to go. And I mean, you can, let's see, you can click the edit button here, and you can mirror it, but you can't change the paper size. So to answer that question, you can't change the paper size. It's kind of set in its ways with the way it is. I hope they'll make improvements to that in the future.
We got a question. Do you have to calibrate your printer before you can do print and cut?
That would need to be, for your printer specifically, that would be more of a specific printer thing that you would need to ask that to your printer tech or support line. But you do need to calibrate your Cricut machine for print and cut. So I'm not sure if maybe that's what you meant. But Cricut Help online, if you just Google help.cricut.com, they have a whole setup on how to calibrate your Cricut machine for a print and cut process. So that is something you do need to do before you go through the print and cut process.
And you use 65-pound cardstock, right?
Yes, I generally, with printing, I will either use 65-pound cardstock, or I will use like a sticker paper or a printable vinyl. Those are generally the only things I've used with print and cut. There's some other things you can play with, but those are the most standard things that you use.
And then someone's asking, how do you find the cardstock paperweight?
Good question. So let me put my face on the screen here. Cardstock paperweight. So that's generally, if you're buying a product. If you're buying at Michael's craft store, if you happen to have one near you, that's where I buy my cardstock, and they have it actually on the front label. It's kind of like not obvious unless you're looking for it, but if you look for it, it'll say 65-pound or /176 grams, I think it is. So they give it in grams and they give it in pounds, weighted pounds as well. So generally look on the label or the back, or if you're online, check the description box. They will almost always tell you the pounds of the paper there. I never ever put anything over 80 pound in my printer. I honestly have never done over 65, but I would definitely never do over 80 pound. And just check your printer specifications too. Everybody's printer is different, so just check what it can do and make sure you're not going to jam your printer or anything like that.
Okay, I'm curious, and it's a trivia question,
Okay.
but how in the world do they get 65 pounds?
I don't know. It has something to do with it's the thickness of the paper,
Okay.
and they give it
So
like
you're not a ream of
it's
it
not
is
actually 65 pounds. Yes, I know.
That's what I would think.
I know. I do a lot with paper flowers,
Like
you guys
the
might
1
know, and I
pound,
get people all the
please.
time, they're like, where do you get your paper? What weight is it? I'm like, 65 pound. I have some people comment back to me like, 65 pound? How am I
can't do
going to
this.
make a flower out
I'm out of here.
I believe that is the amount of weight the paper will support before ripping. I could be wrong though.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, my husband, he's so smart.
Wow.
So he said he believes it's the amount of weight that the paper will support before ripping. And I'm going to test that later.
So you could put your big doggy on top of a piece of paper and see if it
Oh my
falls.
gosh, Macy, she's 75 pounds. So if it rips, then we know that theory's
Yeah,
true.
do the doggy card test.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. All right, guys. So we have went over how to upload. We've discussed the differences of this being a print and cut, how to recognize that in our layers panel. So let me pull this back in here. These are obviously cut files.
Macy,
Let's go. Let me get these off my screen here real quick. I'm going to group them and hide them. I just want to take you to the cut screen one more time with a cut file instead of a print and cut, just to give you sort of that option as well. And I'm going to change my machine type here so that it actually connects to the machine I think I have powered on.
so as you're doing that, there's a question. Is print and cut different than draw with a pen and cut?
Yes, so yes, those are different operations. So you know what, before I go to the cut screen again, let's talk about operations for a minute, because that is something that is really important to understand when you're new in your design space. We talked about, actually I have this selected. We talked about the operation dropdown over here at the very top left of the canvas. And if we click on that, we see all these different options. Now be mindful, depending on the machine you own, you may or may not see all of these options. Maker machines can do everything basically. Cricut Joy machines can only do writing, foiling, and cutting. And then the Explorers can do everything except the engraving and the debossing and the perforating and the weighty. So just know that your machine might populate some different operations over here. And Mom, I see you click in there. If you need to see the operations, you have to have something selected on your screen.
Oh, I was wrong. So somebody actually looked up as far as paperweight. It says it refers to the designated weight of uncut paper per 500 sheets.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
So 500 sheets of 65-pound cardstock. That
Weighs
weighs
65 pounds. Okay.
Wow.
We're
We're
finding out fun facts today, I guess.
put that theory to the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here on operation, this is a great place to know what your machine can do for you. So whatever machine you have selected, it will populate according to what your machine can do. So in my case here, I have the Maker selected, so it's showing me everything. And to answer your question about pens, yes, pens and drawing are different than print and cut. So if I wanted to draw this rosette on my screen with a pen, I could select the operation menu, and I could click on pen. Now, Mom, you can click on that for fun if you want. I don't think, oh, it's going to draw an outline. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so here we go. So here now, it has changed this file, this rosette file, that is meant for, obviously, cutting and paper and rolling. But for example's sake here, we've changed the operation to pen. So that now, when we go to our cut screen, Cricut is going to ask us to load a pen into our machine, and it will literally draw this shape with a pen. So I hope that answers your question there. But this process of using the pen would not involve a printer. It would only involve a printer if you were combining actions together, which is a little bit more advanced, and I'm not going to get into that today just because I know it would overwhelm our beginners. So yes, print and cut and pen drawings are completely different operations. So for example, this is pen. This is a basic cut operation. Look over in your layers panel, see how we have pen here, and then this blue one I have selected, which is at the bottom, it says basic cut. So those are two different operations, and if we click on each one, that operation area is going to change. We're on basic cut, now we're on pen. Now we're on basic cut, now we selected a pen item. And if we wanted to change it to, if we're using the wavy tool or score line, we could also make those selections at this point too. So these are just different operations that you can communicate to your Cricut machine that you want it to do. And while there's a very wide array of what you can do with this, how you can combine and use those, it's a lot to learn. But the great part with our Cricut Craftfest is that our speakers are showing all the design space setup for their projects. So if you need to know how to score something and how to get that to work with your machine, they're going to walk you through that in the project. So you're going to pick up lots of knowledge, more than just the basics here today, with all of the workshops that are coming next week. And then also here, let's see, we had this one as score. We could also change this to print and cut and click on changing that file from a basic cut to a print and cut, and we see that reflected in our layers panel over here. And now this file would actually print out in ink because we're telling Cricut we want this to print. And this one, for example, we want it to cut. So I would load a sheet of blue paper for this, whereas for this red one, Cricut would actually prompt me to print this out in red ink on my printer. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a lot to learn when you're new, because it's a little overwhelming trying to understand all the different things that your Cricut can do. But it's really great because once you work through each one of these and you fully grasp it, you will have so many different options of types of projects that you can learn to do. Thanks, babe. My husband's giving me sign language. All right, so that is where, actually, no, you know what? I promised I would take you to the cut screen again, so let me do that one more time. I'm going to get this one off my screen. I'm going to collect these and group them. I'm going to hide them in the layers panel. We're just going to look at this guy right here. I'm going to go to the cut screen one more time. Remember before when we were doing print and cut, it had that white sheet of paper with the black registration box? Well, that was one of the earmarks of, hey, your Cricut Design Space software is about to tell you you need to load paper into a printer, you need to print it out in ink. We don't need to do that here because we are using a basic cut operation. So the basic cut operation is I will quite literally load a blue sheet, or it can be any sheet, it doesn't have to be blue, but in this case we're representing blue. We will load a sheet of cardstock onto a Cricut mat, and it will cut this out, this shape out from our cardstock in my example here. Now on this screen there are a couple things you can do. You can change your material size. So this is defaulting to 12 by 12. That's what Cricut's going to do. It's going to default to 12 by 12 because that's the size of the mat. But if we're using 8.5 by 11, which is what I generally use for like that 65-pound cardstock we were talking about, you might want to change that. So you can change that under material size here. And we would find 8.5 by 11 letter size right there. Okay? Now that reflects the size of material we're working with. You have any questions there, Mom? Make sense?
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now that we've selected our material size, you could change project copies too. I almost never do that, but that is there as an option. If you wanted to have this cut several times, then you could change the project copies. We'll hit the continue at the bottom there. Yeah. So this, again, we had technical difficulties if you weren't catching the earlier one. So his computer, my husband's computer, is not set up on Bluetooth. So he's actually going to show you how to set up Bluetooth for your Cricut machine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. Okay, now this is on a Mac, full warning, but if you're on a PC, you'll just go to Settings and Bluetooth, okay? So Settings and Bluetooth if you're on a PC.
Click on System Preferences,
Okay,
and you will get this. And do you remember which maker is which, or does it really matter?
Yeah, that maker there, because it's not the maker 3, so the top one.
Okay.
Okay, so there's our device that is showing up there in our Bluetooth settings. And if you get a code pop-up like this, that's just something that Cricut does on some devices. It's just 4 zeros, that's it. And now it's going to be connected to our computer via Bluetooth.
Except
Did it not work? So it's not connected?
it's taking its time.
Okay, guys, so while he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and announce, actually, Miss Ella.
It's connected to the maker 3.
It's connected? Okay. Christabella, you want to come up here in a minute and you can announce the winner of the Cricut Mug Press? Okay. Let me go back to Design Space here. She's making her way upstairs. All right, so now I can click on continue, and now it's loading with my Maker machine because we connected it via Bluetooth. And if you're on a PC, you'll just go to Settings and Bluetooth, and you'll select the device there. All right, so now we have our material screen. And our material screen here is going to ask us what material are we loading onto our mat and are cutting out with. So in this case, I would recommend a cardstock. So I'm going to toggle over to popular, and I'm going to select medium cardstock. Okay, so there is how we would set up that process of choosing a setting. And if you want to go back and change it, you could just click up here and change it. You could browse all materials as well up here at the top. You can favorite them by starring them. That way they appear on your favorite screen right here, which I have already done because this is an account I've been using for a long time. If you ever need to change the default pressure, you can do that here. So if it's not quite cutting all the way through, you could up the pressure to more, or you could lessen it if it's like tearing or anything like that. So that's a helpful thing to know. And at this point, my machine right next to me is flashing its double arrow button and telling me to load the mat with the paper on it, and it's going to go ahead and cut it out. So that's literally what you would do to go from that to actually loading. So I hope that was insightful for some of you and beginners. I know it's a lot of information, guys, and I know this Cricut Craftfest this week is going to help you all that much more because all of our speakers have been great with doing setup in Design Space prior to actually showing you project assembly. So you're going to learn a lot with all of this. My best advice to you is if it's overwhelming, it's normal. Just don't give up, okay? Just take it one step at a time, ask questions, keep practicing, but don't give up, all right? So we're gonna make sure there's no other major questions here in just a minute, but in the meantime, I'm gonna have my daughter Ella, she likes to be helpful, so she's gonna announce the winner of our Cricut mug press that we posted a few days ago. What? I'm sorry, my husband's trying to be stealthy and I don't know what he's saying. So, come here, baby girl. You want to announce the winner? I'll show you. I got her name right here. We drew it last night.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yep. We'll do the all access pass in just a minute. Is that what you were referring to?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So, can you say that?
Bethany Hoggins, you are the winner of the Cricut Mug Press.
Congratulations, Bethany Hawkins. Even if you're not on here, you're still the winner. We will tag you, and we will get that to you as soon as possible. So congratulations on your new Cricut mug press. Oh, okay. Wait, what's the name? So we're picking a winner for the All Access Pass, guys. Sorry, we're a little disoriented.
Why are you guys so crazy today?
Why am I going so crazy? Well, Mommy had a whole lot of technology problems today.
Rainbow.
Oh, thank you. And this is a sticker I made with Print and Cut. In case you guys are wondering. There's an example. Print and Cut on sticker paper. There we go. All right, so my husband's choosing an All Access Pass winner. We're just choosing at random here. You know what? You guys have been really great today saying patient with me. Let's pick 3 people.
Okay.
At random. Doesn't matter. Just make sure it's not one of our speakers because they already have access.
Can we do Lisa? Can we do Lisa?
Hang on. And if you've already purchased the All Access Pass and you're listening and your name is chosen, we will refund you your purchase. So you're still in the running.
What's this picture?
That's a picture from Mama. She was practicing with me today. And guys, if you have any other questions in general, feel free to send us messages at hello@abbykirstencollections.com. Is that Brian?
Yep.
So Brian Montgomery.
Or Brian Deborah.
By Brian Deborah Montgomery, so maybe it's a shared account. You are one of our winners for the All Access Pass. We will reply to your comment in just a few moments and get your information. You can also just email us directly at hello@abbykirstencollections.com and we'll get your account set up. I'm going to pick 2 more All Access Pass winners. I really appreciate all of you today who were patient With all of the technology errors we had, it was certainly not what I had expected. We ran lots of tests, and unfortunately, it was just Murphy's Law at work. So let's pick 2 more people. Let's see here. Let's take Bernice. How do you say that last name? Ingram? Ingram? Bernice Ingram. You're going to be one of our other All Access Pass winners. And you want to pick one, honey? Just randomly pick somebody.
Can I pick somebody?
You want to pick somebody? Okay, come over here. Ella's going to pick the last one, okay, guys? All right. Come over here, sweet girl. Pick a name that you see here. Just point to one and pick it. I'll say it out loud if you want me to.
Tammy Johnson.
Tammy Johnson. Tammy Johnson, you are our 3rd winner of the All Access Pass. Yay! We will reply to your comments, or you can just send us a message automatically if you want. We will make sure you get your All Access Pass information. I really appreciate you guys today. I hope it was helpful. I know it was not as clean as I would have liked, but I really do hope it helps some of you guys. And there's going to be loads more of help coming your way with the Cricut Craftfest next week. I can't wait to see you all there. And thank you to my mommy for coming on with me and being my pacer. I hope that was maybe helpful on some level as well. All right, guys. I'm going to say bye, Ella.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, y'all. Feel free to keep asking questions in the group if you need help with anything. We really appreciate each of you. See you guys soon.